Welcome back. Well, yes, we'll be talking health now as it concerns everyone. It should actually. We're joined by Dr. Ismail Abdus-Salam, who is the State Epidemiologist, Lagos State Ministry of Health. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you.
We're talking about this Ebola virus threat. We do know that it's a serious matter. Ministry of Health has talked about this to the extent that they think, well, don't worry about that. But when people begin to read in the paper as well, it's in some neighboring countries. It originated in West Africa from, well, maybe a seemingly distant country, but now it seems to be getting closer to our borders. Signs of concerns, aren't there?
Well, there are really a lot of concern because of the nature of the disease. It's a deadly disease, and Ebola virus disease is caused by Ebola virus and was first discovered in 1976 in northern part of Zaire, now Democratic Republic of Congo. And around that time, we are close to 340-something people who have the disease. And we have the death toll is around 240-something. So you're talking about 88% case fatality rate. And the same year, too, you have it also in Sudan. That one, the fatality rate is around 59% or so. Ebola virus disease, we want to look at how does it go to man, and what are the necessary routes of transmission. So be looking at the natural reservoir, the reservoir of infection here. Initially, the reservoir of infection was not known, but now researchers are coning it down to fruit bats, which already has been incriminated in the recent outbreak that we have in Guinea. As of today in Guinea, as of 5th of April this year, 151 people are already suspected and probable cases of this particular disease. And we have 95 deaths. So you can see that is very high. And we have just 52 people confirmed by laboratory investigation as having the disease. More so, we now have those that are supposed to be taking care of the sick one, the health workers. We have 14 of them having been confirmed for this particular disease and 8 deaths.
Is that airborne or what?
Well, the disease, it can be airborne.
It can be?
It can be airborne. That is, through the aerosol, the infection can be transmitted. For example, if the person sneezes and the aerosol, fell on this surface or this table, you rub your hand on it, you can easily contact the infection by, So that's one of the ways. But you see, the other way, the mode of transmission. One, we can look at the animal that is infected. We said fruit bat has been infected. There are other animals, monkeys, gorilla, and chimpanzee have also been, incriminated as a reservoir of infection. So having close contacts with those animals that are infected, we have to, underline that are infected, not animal of source, but those that are infected, or the products of those animals.
How do you know those that are infected?
You cannot know. That's why we are saying. How do you know? You cannot know.
Are we really on the...
Because those that are infected, one, they are reservoir of infection because the organism lives in them, multiplies in them, and they are not affected. They serve as a source of transmission of the infection.
So you can actually have the disease, or have the virus, and nothing will be... You would not have any visible signs of falling sick or anything.
Well, another thing is that not all people who are infected with any microorganism will end up having the disease.
Okay.
So we can have so many people that are infected, but we are telling you the number that, after having the infection comes down with the disease.
Like vectors? I don't know. Like they're carriers?
We can't call them carriers because as we heard now, we have a lot of infection. But because of our immunity, the immunity in our system will fight against it and some already build up antibodies against those infections. So the antibodies will clear the antigen, so you will not develop the disease. But in people who are susceptible, who could not fight that particular infection, they come down with the disease. But not everybody who come down with the disease eventually died. Some of them will come up with the symptoms, and at the end of the day, doctors, health workers will give them certain medications and treatment and they come.
Is there a cure for it?
There is no cure. No cure for Ebola virus.
Just what treatment?
No cure, no vaccine. What we do is supportive therapy. The patient presents with fever or with any other thing. Then let's even use that to look at the symptoms. We have not even finished talking about the route of transmission. We're talking about just from animal, person-to-person transmission. And in terms of even the animal, it's not only touching the animal, the products, the secretions of the animal, the blood coming out of that animal infected with the virus is likely for the person to contact the infection and go on to develop
Before
the disease.
we talk about the symptoms and what to look out for, is Nigeria under any real threat?
Well, that question we have, because they are neighboring countries, they are West African countries, Liberia is there, Syria alone is there, international travel is going on, trade is going on, migration.
Is this the first time we're getting to see it in the West African sub-region?
It's not the first time. Because we talked about, Guinea.
It's the first time in
It's
Guinea.
the first time in West Africa. Because Guinea is in West Africa. Gambia, no, I don't think it's in Gambia. Okay. Guinea and Liberia, Sierra Leone. This is the first, because the first one was in Central Africa, which is Democratic Republic of Congo. The other one is in Sudan, plus or minus within Central West Africa, but it's more of Central Africa. But in West Africa, Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, that's the first time we're having it.
And part of the concerns, for West Africa is because we've got this free trade, free movement across West African borders. And so lots of people wondering, oh dear, what do we even have to do to check this and be on our guard about this?
Well, at the different ports of entry, we have to just keep on doing what we call active surveillance, in the sense that we keep constant scrutiny or watchfulness of people who crosses or people who are coming from those areas and maybe suddenly, complain of fever, maybe at the airports, the land crossing or the ground crossing. I mean, we're talking about the borders, then we're talking about the seaports. So, and what I know is in place now is that for the health workers within the border, the port health services, they're also trying to put measures in place so that if there is any suspected case or anyone coming from that area that developed fever, or anyone who has contact with anyone who is infected or having the disease in the area they are coming, active surveillance is a major thing now, because it's very difficult for you to know that this person had the Ebola virus, the viral hemorrhagic fever, and it's in the same family as Lassa fever, as yellow fever, and dengue fever, and some other fevers like that. They have similar pattern of presentation.
Hemorrhagic, that means bleeding?
Bleeding, yes.
But we have cases of dengue fever here, don't we? According to what the minister said.
We have cases of dengue fever, yeah.
So we should keep tabs on that to be extremely sure that this is not a strain.
It's not a strain, yeah.
So tell us more. What kind of bleeding are we talking about now? Visible or internal bleeding? How do
we are going to the signs and symptoms. I think that would be appropriate at this junction, because when you look at the presentation of this particular illness we are talking about, initially it's very difficult for you to know, because they present with non-specific symptoms, like I'm sick, presenting with fever, malaise, sore throat, generalized body pain, and I go to my doctor. In this area, I think of malaria, I think of typhoid, think of other things. So I start treating that, but the patient already developed the disease. But that is the early presentation. But late presentation will not be for the patient to start having, presenting with these bleeding problems, and that would mean bleeding through the openings or different openings in the body. You start from the nose bleeding. You can bleed into the eye, conjunctival hemorrhage. You can vomit blood. You can pass blood per rectum. You can, have blood, on the skin, bleeding into the skin. We call it purpura. So these by the time the patient is presenting with this, doctors now start having the index of suspicion. But now, health workers, you have high index of suspicion for fever or malaria you have treated that fails to go, the typhoid fever, or any other form of simple fever. And the same presentation you have with Lassa fever. That's why it's very difficult. So by the time the doctor is already detecting, the doctor is already infected. The health workers are infected.
Wow.
So that is why we are having the case fatality in Guinea that we're having. That's the way it goes. It's not something you see straight away and you say, this is Ebola. No, it's not. You just have high index of suspicion, especially within this period of epidemic going on in some countries in West Africa. So that is the presentation that you have.
Are we raising an alert system here in Nigeria? Do we have one, first of all?
Well, we have what we call the surveillance system. And this surveillance system, you have it in the different parts of, it's like you have a flow. And you have the flow from the health facilities. Health facilities in a local government, we have disease surveillance and notification officer in each local government. From the health facility, if they have, suspicion of those cases, they call the disease surveillance notification officer who goes there to investigate, to look at what is happening, and then inform the State Epidemiology Unit, State Ministry of Health. And from there, they take necessary actions and involve the World Health Organization, other people that are collaborating with them, and other members of what we call the epidemic response team. So they move into action, and then they inform the Federal Ministry of Health, who also send their team down. So you have that flow. So that one is, is right in there. So that is a system that's already on ground, on routine basis. We do surveillance for routine diseases.